With both the new live-action show on Netflix, the characters appearing in Fortnite, and several movies on the horizon, it's never been a better time to be a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender. However, when it comes to power scaling, Avatar is definitely one of the more overlooked series. Still, some people massively downplay the characters' abilities and say that they're barely beyond the level of normal humans, while others will tell you that avatars are beyond outer-versal concepts and can solo most of fiction. Obviously, the more consistent answer falls somewhere in between the middle of these two extremes. So today, I'm going to be going over the strength of the main character of the show, the last airbender himself, the Avatar, master of all four elements of fire, air, water, and earth, the bender who brought the end to the 100 Years' War by defeating the Fire Lord, Aang, and comparing him to another series that is quite popular right now, and one that I've scaled a couple times before at this point. Jujutsu Kaisen. In this video, Aang is going to be running the gauntlet against everything the world of JJK has to offer. Could Aang survive in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen? Would he be able to make it through events like the Culling Games or the Shibuya Incident? How would he feel about fighting the disaster curses, which are almost an evil version of his own bending abilities? Would he be considered special grade due to his abilities, or would his stats fall short of the level of power of characters like Yuta, Gojo, Toji, or Sukuna? Without cursed energy or domain expansion of his own, does he have a way to protect himself from techniques like domain expansion or other abilities? Let's find out. But on the subject of protecting yourself, I'd like to talk to you today about today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. When it comes to doing research and gathering scans for these kinds of videos that have a whole bunch of obscure data books and hard to find information, I sometimes end up on websites that are less than secure. These sites can be marred with obnoxious pop-up ads, malicious links attempting to download a virus on my computer, and oftentimes insecure connections that can lead to my personal data and information falling into the wrong hands. However, thanks to Surfshark VPN, I don't have to worry about any of these things. Surfshark VPN offers way more than just the basic services of a VPN. Sure, you can use it to essentially teleport yourself to 100 different countries all around the world to watch Netflix's region-locked content, bypass region-locked websites, and hide what you're doing from your internet provider, but Surfshark VPN offers so much more than that. It also provides comprehensive security on every single one of your devices, from encrypted file downloading to real-time antivirus scanning and numerous safety alerts, from ad blockers to pop-up blockers to data breach alerts and malware alerts. My personal favorite, and I think the coolest thing they do though, is that you can create a whole fake anonymous identity for yourself online, creating an entire person who doesn't exist so you can search the internet safely. And here's the best thing. Unlike some other VPN companies, Surfshark never logs your information, so you're not trading one company stealing your information for another. With all of these benefits with literally zero downsides, Surfshark also makes it so one subscription can be paired with an unlimited number of devices. This means that one account can give Surfshark to not only your entire family, but every single one of your friends, your coworkers, and even your pets if you really want to. So please, do yourself a massive favor and keep your privacy private by clicking the link down below and using my code LONGSTAKES to get 3 extra months of Surfshark VPN completely free with zero risk, since they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Once again, thank you so much to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video and making it possible. So let's jump right in. For this video, we won't be throwing Aang specifically into any one moment or event in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, and instead just measuring him up against the general ranking within the verse, going through his feats and scaling consecutively, starting with grade 4 and moving all the way up to special grade top tiers. I'll make sure to talk about how some specific matchups of interest might go, but not exhaustively. No one needs me to go into detail about Aang versus like Panda specifically, at least I hope. We'll mostly be comparing the stats of speed and strength, then going over things like hacks when I think it matters for specific fights. To begin, let's compare Aang to the bottom tiers of the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, low-grade curses. When it comes to grades, at least within Curse Spirits, the story pretty explicitly lays out how strong these beings or any comparable sorcerers might be. Everyone below grade 1 is essentially fodder in the grand scheme of things, with all of them being easily taken out by real-world weapons that can be used by one person, from a baseball bat to a pistol to a shotgun. This is also reflected by sorcerers who sit around this level as a grade 3, like Mai Zenin, literally just using real-life guns as their weapon of choice in combat. As a reminder, sorcerer tiers are generally one level above that of Curse Spirit, so a grade 2 sorcerer is not equal to a grade 2 curse, they actually would be a grade 2 curse. curse, and so on. There is a massive jump in ability between grade 2 and grade 1 curses, with grade 1s being seen as arguably stronger than a tank. This is pretty consistent with semi-grade 1 sorcerers like Mechamaru being able to output city block levels of power when using their strongest techniques like Ultimate Cannon. Also, at this tier, very few characters have absolutely broken abilities yet, probably the strongest being Panda's ability to cause internal damage with his punches, or Nobara's Resonance. So, how does Aang do against this tier? Even in his base form in the first season before he's learned any elements, Aang pretty easily sits at and even clears this level of power. With a single airbending kick, he's able to completely destroy massive boulders launched by catapults, which put his power with arguably the least offensive bending style already at city block level in power. This means that even a single strong gust of wind from Aang is matching what the essential pinnacle of power that a grade 1 cursed spirit or semi-grade 1 sorcerer is capable of outputting. So even an Aang essentially fresh out of the iceberg is already strong enough to be more than promoted to being equivalent to a grade 1 sorcerer without ever needing the avatar state or any other bending forms. However, this is nowhere near Aang's peak of power, even within Season 1 or without the avatar state. But for that, let's move on to the next level of power, special grade curses and grade 1 sorcerers. The character that I best think represents this tier is Todo. As we're told, Todo can easily defeat several grade 1 curse spirits without even using his curse technique, and that with it he can defeat a special grade curse spirit. The general definition for this tier is that a cluster bombing might work against these beings, which is relatively consistent if they mean that they are comparable to the total energy output in a cluster bombing, which given enough time can flatten multiple city blocks. Generally though, given how there is a massive range between what is a special grade, as there is essentially no cap how strong they might be, this should be taken more as a low end rather than a high end. This statement is actually backed up by feats though, as characters like Mahito can create large city block level holes with just his physical strength, and shake Shibuya with multi-city block level earthquakes. However, once again, this falls short of even the level of base Aang's airbending. In Season 1, Aang, without the ability to use firebending or earthbending at this point, is able to completely solidify and stop a massive wave of lava coming from a volcano by using a charged up breath of airbending to stop it from destroying a town, which unsurprisingly is a small town level feat. A lot of people like to call this scene an outlier, but the immediate next line in the scene is Sokka talking about how people forget how strong Aang is. So generally, base to base, Aang is going to be outputting more power than that of a special grade disaster curse. However, there are two ways for the disaster curses to enter a new tier of power: maximum techniques and domain expansion. While Jogo is the only person we actually see using a maximum technique, his maximum meteor is capable of outputting nearly city levels of power. If we assume that the rest of the disaster curses like Dagon, Hanami, and Mahito are all generally in the same tier and also have a maximum technique, then they should all be around this nigh city level of power. However, maximum techniques aren't exactly something that can be done casually by a character, given that they are second only to domain expansion when it comes to their capabilities as a sorcerer. And domains are an entire beast in and of themselves. For this video, we'll just say that domains scale to the user's power, or at least the attacks within the domain are as potent as their size. With this, from Dagon's and Jogo's domain, the disaster curses and anyone stronger than them would be at least mountain level to island level in power, at least when activating their domains. So, can Aang compete with this level of power if we grant it to the JJK verse? Well, yes, but not in base. If Aang hopes to take on this level of power, he's going to need to tap into the Avatar state, which obviously is a massive amp that gives him the power and abilities of all previous Avatar, as their spirits are literally channeled into his body. Thus, we can look at the on-screen feats of previous Avatar, both in their base forms or in the Avatar state, and directly scale them to what Aang should be capable of. Even some of the lower-end feats by previous Avatar already begin to approach the limit of what JJK has shown. In fact, pretty much every on-screen Avatar has shown their own high-tier feat related to their respective element. Yang Chen is shown being able to move large cloud formations while training, which is mountain level. Avatar Zetsu and Karuk both have island level feats, with Zetsu causing several volcanoes to erupt with his firebending, while a novice Karuk completely sunk an island while in the Avatar state, seemingly while only using his waterbending. Beyond this is Avatar Kyoshi's feat of creating Kyoshi Island by combining the bending of multiple elements, which ends up being the strongest feat of all of these, which makes sense. While some people disagree in exactly where this sits, this feat is easily large island to country levels of power. This means that even while taking the high-end interpretation of these characters' powers with domain expansion, they would still be getting annihilated and overpowered by Aang. Now, I think several of you might be thinking about how Hax plays a role in this battle. What if Mahito touches Aang? How can Aang harm him or any cursed spirits? Well, Aang has energy bending, which is at its fundamental level is spirit and soul manipulation. If Mahito somehow manages to touch Aang, he would suddenly see and be interacting with hundreds of spirits inside his body that are all equally as powerful as Aang himself. It would probably be even worse version of what Sukuna did to him upon touching his soul. So, long story short, Aang thrashes these guys. This leaves pretty much only special grade characters left to compare Aang to, but once again, they fall in a similar boat. While they are certainly stronger than the disaster curses, they have no feats that quantifiably put them any higher. I also haven't mentioned speed at this point, and at worst, I think that Aang is the same speed as the top tiers. Very few characters scale to Kashimo's lightning, and I personally don't believe that the light speed meta in JJK is convincingly valid. Meanwhile, you have many characters in Avatar being able to catch, react to, and outright intercept lightning attacks, all of which have been calced to massively hypersonic and beyond. That's partly the reason I avoided mentioning speed up until now, as Aang is pretty easily blitzing everyone slower than Kashimo and other special grade sorcerers, even in his base form. So, unsurprisingly, I think the only two characters who remotely have a chance of beating Aang in the Avatar state are Sukuna and Gojo. For Sukuna, he might possibly be able to negate Aang's durability with the world-cutting slash, and if he can't, then Aang is just going to be consistently overpowering him with constant attacks. For Gojo, his only hope is that Aang can't bypass Infinity, and that he can get off an Infinite Void, which might be able to work on Aang, but there's a chance all this does is turn off Aang's mind and cause a former Avatar spirit to take control like Kyoshi did. For this video, I'm also leaving out the potential moon level or planet level scaling involving stuff with Rava, the moon spirit, and stuff with Legend of Korra, but maybe I can talk about that in another video. Also, post-editing Lonk here, as of the most recent chapter, Sukuna might have made the mountain level stuff more consistent by opening his domain and making like a massive hurricane, it seems. And it seems like it's moving clouds in the background. This could end up being similar to Yang Chen's feat, at least making it more consistent that these characters can be mountain level, but again, this would not put him at Aang's peak scaling. So overall, Aang in his base form would easily be at the level of grade 1 sorcerers and be able to relatively evenly fight against beings like the disaster curses, though probably having a massive speed advantage against them. However, with the Avatar state, he sits at a level of power pretty beyond everyone and is only vulnerable to a handful of hacks abilities used by the two strongest guys in the verse. But what do you think? Did I underestimate JJK? Did I overestimate Aang? Let me know your thoughts and how I was wrong in the comments down below. Also, just wanted to say, now that my school year's over, I'll be back to making consistent uploads, so thank you for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one.